Hello, everyone, and welcome to my ambassador tournament. If you don't know already, then my name is Natt, and I'm going to be just running through the thoughts I had while I was playing these deals. And hopefully, there will be some helpful thought processes there for you to give you tips for kind of things you should be thinking about while you're playing. I don't know my results yet because I'm the first person to play. So I will have to wait and see how I do. But I think overall there were some very good ones, there were some very bad ones. It was a bit of a mixed bag. So I think probably there will be a few of you who do better than me this time. All right, so the first hand was quite interesting actually. There was a lot of bidding. I open the bidding in my system. I need to open a club with this hand because I'm playing 5-card majors. Not all of you will be, but everyone will have opened in some way. And because I open a club, West has a nice 1-no trump bid available to show their balanced hand with a stop. And then East bids Stayman, and that's pretty good news for me because when they find their heart fit, I know that their trumps are 4-1 right from the beginning. So it's good practice always when the opponents have their auction, even if you're not intending to bid, just to be thinking about what they're telling you while it's happening. Partly because it really cements the auction for you in your head, you've been thinking about it deeply. Partly because if you end up being on lead, it gives you a good clue about what you should be doing because you've already been thinking about the hand. And partly just in general, when you're on the card play section, it's a lot easier for you to think about everything in terms of the full deal and the way the cards are laid out. So here, my partner led a club, which not going to be that brilliant today, sadly. Can't stop the opponents from making their contract. But good thing to do is to think about where your tricks are coming from right at the beginning. And a good way of being able to do that is by counting the points that you can see. So I knew that I had started with 12. I knew that dummy had started with 9. So already that's 21. And I know that West has something like 15 to 18. So I'm expecting about 1 to 3 points in my partner's hand. And therefore, I'm not expecting any miracles like a partner's going to have the Queen Jack of Spades and the Ace of Diamonds or something like that. I know my partner's pretty broke. So when I'm thinking about where our tricks are going to come from, I can see a club trick. I can see a trump trick. I know I haven't got a diamond trick because my partner can't possibly have the Ace of Diamonds. So I could just hope that my partner has enough stuff in spades that we end up having a spade trick, or it gets too difficult for Declarer to set up the spades. The other alternative is that my 9 of trumps might become a trick, or maybe I'll get to ruff a club. I can see the 8. Looks like my partner has an even number of clubs, and that's most likely to be 4. If Declara had 6, I think we'd know about it. They wouldn't have supported the hearts because they would then have an unbalanced hand. So they beat my Queen of Clubs with the Ace. And then they played a spade. So immediately, when I see this trick, I know what's going on in spades. Because remember, Declara can't have a singleton, so they can't have an unbalanced hand. They're not going to overtake the Queen of Spades if they need it as a trick. So presumably they've got the Queen and the Jack. And that's kind of confirmed by my partner's my partner's count signal. The 7 is the highest spot card, so I know that my partner has an even number. So I know the spades are 2-2 in the other hands. Diamond finesse that everyone knew was going to work. They throw a club. And then maybe a slightly unusual move, they let me win my diamond while throwing a club. So I wasn't expecting to make a diamond trick, I was expecting to make a club trick. But here this is effectively me making my club trick, because they're throwing away a loser on my diamond winner. So I'm just sort of swapping tricks, I'm not gaining anything here. Can be sometimes a little bit difficult to keep count of these things, but sometimes when you feel like you're getting a gift, it's actually just swapping a trick. Now the interesting thing here is to decide what to do next. And on this hand, I clearly can't return a trump. I'm potentially hoping to get a trump trick, and I might skewer that opportunity if I play a trump. If I play the king of clubs, then there is some potential, depending on whether my partner's led the right card, that I could be setting up Declara's jack, but I could even be setting up Declara's 10 sometimes. So I'm a little bit reluctant to play a club. So I decided to play a very passive spade. It would force Declara to have to make a decision about whether to win in their hand and then rough over to dummy to play more spades, or whether they should be drawing trumps. And at the moment, they don't know how the trumps are breaking, so they might well make a mistake. So I decided to go passive. It's a really good idea when you're trying to make these decisions to think about the point count on the hand. So when you know that your partner can't have more than 1 to 3 points and you can't really see an obvious trick, then maybe the best thing to do is just to go passive and hope that the trick comes to you. Don't try to be too busy, which would be a trump or a club play. So I played a spade. They just decided to win in their hand and start drawing trumps. Now, it might be tempting to win the ace just to squash the 10, but if I do that, it's going to be very, very easy for Declara to just draw trumps, draw a couple of trumps, set up the spades, draw the last trump into dummy, and then play their spade winners. So it's not really going to help anything. So I want to keep a bit of control over the hand, especially with the fact that I know that trumps are 4-1 and Declara doesn't. So I decided to duck. They played a spade, which they have to do. They have to try to set up their spades. They played another trump, and once again, I decided to duck. Because if I win, then Declara, once again, actually gets to take roughs, and then they get more tricks. Because I have to follow suit to the spade. They play a spade. And now, when they decided to play a spade here, I was in a nice position where I had to make an important decision about what to do. If you make the mistake of trying to ruff, then Declara is just going to over ruff, and then they can push out your ace of hearts because it's the only trump left, and they make an over trick. So better to take advantage of the fact that Declara is losing trump control because of the fact that you already ducked twice, and throw away your club. And then, if you've been counting everything, you know that Declara's only got 1 trump left. So when they play a trump, you rise with the ace, and the last trump is yours as well. So that should be a good result. They're supposed to make 11 tricks, but because they went a little bit wrong, they only made 10. Okay, on this one they opened 1-0 trump. The auction was very uneventful. I do not recommend that you try to double the opponents with your 16-point hand. Remember, you're not on lead. You have no way of telling partner that they're supposed to be leaving a diamond. You have pretty unsupported honours in all the suits, so that means that any finesses or positional plays that the player tries to make are going to be onside. So really better just to stay quiet. So if anybody did double, you probably ended up getting a bad score on this one, I'm afraid. So my partner led a heart. So I think maybe my partner and I have had a miscommunication about which card they're supposed to lead here. I would like them to lead the 6 so that I can work out that they have 5 of them, but they decided to lead the 5, which looks like a 4-card suit. So I won the Ace of Hearts. And once again, this is a good example of counting the points and deciding whether to be active or passive. And once again, because I've got 16 and Declarer's got 15 to 17, that puts him in the 31 to 33 range. And you can see 4 points in the dummy. So partner doesn't have much, it's like 3 to 5. So we're not expecting partner to have a whole bunch of miracle cards here. They're not going to turn up with the ace, queen, spades or something. And it looks like they've got 1 heart honor, so really not expecting much else. Maybe the maximum we could expect from partner is sort of the queen of clubs. That might be useful. So from that point of view, there's no rush to switch to anything. Obviously, we want Declarer to be the one playing diamonds through the dummy. There's no rush to play a club. We're a little bit nervous about the 4th club in the dummy, and playing a spade will nearly always give away a trick. So just be passive. Play a heart back, and Declarer wins the king, and weirdly plays a heart back. So it looks like maybe they're confused about the lead as well. Not really sure what happened there. And now you've got to find 2 discards on partner's heart winners, and a club seems like the safest thing to do. You can't throw a spade because you need the protective card for your 10. And throwing a diamond looks a little bit nerve-wracking when there are 4 in the dummy. So I threw a club, and then I threw a diamond only when dummy threw away their 4th diamond. The rest of the hand was not hugely interesting. They played a spade. I think it would have been more helpful, just as a side note, if you are dealt a hand like North, where you have 9, 8, 7. It's really slightly more helpful to play the 9 than the 7, so that partner knows you're winning the trick and doesn't feel the need to play the 10. But yes, it didn't make a difference today. You just have to be a little bit careful at the end to make sure you keep your spade stop, which I did. I tried partner for the queen of clubs, I didn't have it, and now it looks like partner hasn't got anything. Remember, we know that when partner doesn't have a club honor, that they can't have a spade honor because they can't have as much as the ace anymore. Should be good as well to hold 1 trump to 7 tricks. This is a really interesting hand. Very, very complicated. The auction was kind of routine. So as South, which is the hand that's on top at the moment, you transfer to hearts, you bid your 2nd suit clubs, and North is really not interested with stops in diamonds and spades for that matter. So they led a spade, and on one hand it looks great because you've still got 2 stops in spades, but actually if you look very carefully, you've only got 2 spade tricks two heart tricks, and a diamond, which is only five. And you need four more tricks. It's not quite clear where those are coming from. You can definitely create two more in clubs, but other than that, there are some slight possibilities in the red suits. The problem being that in order to create your club tricks, you have to go through the ace of clubs. And by the time the opponents have won the ace of clubs, they can then knock out your last spade stop. And you don't know which finesse is working, or whether a finesse is working, or whether there's the magical queen third of hearts on side. If there isn't, then you might end up in a position where you're stuck for entries to the dummy, which is pretty horrible because you don't know whether your king of clubs will get you there. You know, if the opponent's duck enough times, they'll be able to stop you from getting over there. So the whole thing is a little bit stressful. But it seems natural to create the tricks that you know you can create first while you're trying to work out what to do. Already throwing a diamond feels hairy, but the hearts might just be tricks, and the fourth club might be a trick as well. So, important thing here, you watch the count signal, and you don't get one from the person who played the ace, but the person who played the five is telling you that they very likely have an odd number, depending on whether they have the two, or so it seems. They play a spade, and now you can cash the jack of clubs to just confirm how you think the clubs are breaking, because that's going to affect how you play the hand. And interestingly, you see that the 5 was indeed a low card, but East has followed up with a 10 now. So presumably the reason they played the 5 was because they were trying to protect their 10. So maybe they thought they couldn't afford to play the 10, and actually now it's starting to look like East has only 2 clubs and West has 4. Or started with, I should say. So now you know that you have an entry over to the dummy with the king of clubs, but you also know that your 4th round of clubs is not going to be the 13th club. So you really have to think about how to create some tricks in hearts and diamonds now. So similar sort of thing in hearts, look at the count signals. You play the king of hearts, you see the 5 and the 7. The 7's looking pretty high. And then you see the 3. Oops, sorry. I'd like to go halfway through this trick, but I can't. So then when you play the 9, you see the 3 pop up from East. So you see the high-low signal, and now you know that the hearts are 4-2 as well. But you don't know which way round. It's looking like, from the way that West carded in spades, either they have they had the 10-9 of spades which initially, or they only had 3 spades to start with, and East had 5. So it's looking like East is either 5-4 in the majors or 5-2 in the majors. Thinking about it, you're actually already kind of stuffed if West has 4 hearts. You can't create any more tricks. So taking the finesse is not going to help you. The other thing is that when the hearts are 4-2 this way around, where the 4 is on the left and the 3 is on the right, and the 2 is on the right, you have some potential issues with finessing into either the 10 or the queen, depending on which finesse you take. And then West can win, and then they have time to play a diamond, which gives you a big problem because you don't know whether it's safe to take a finesse, and East might have 2 cashing spades on that side, and it's all starting to look a bit hairy. So to protect against this, I actually decided to play the ace, which would be good if West has the queen or the 10 doubleton. Then you can just lose even if it's 10 doubleton, you can lose a heart after that, and then East will cash spades, and then you get your entry over with the king of clubs to cash hearts. So I decided to put the ace up after quite a lot of thought. Oh, and another interesting point is that there can't be queen 10 on your left, because if East had the queen and the 10, then they would cover the 9 to make sure you didn't have an option taking that extra winning finesse. So the queen dropped, and now we have a really interesting play problem because it's still not 100% clear whether the spades were 5-3 or 4-4. But I decided to cash the king of clubs to put East under a bit of pressure because I know they've got the heart stop. And they threw a diamond. So now I thought that the hand was basically like it is, but instead of having the 7 of diamonds, the East had the second spade. And I thought if I play a diamond to the ace to draw out East's last diamond, whatever it is, and then I play a spade, they cash 2 spades, and then they have to give me the hearts. So this was the line I chose. On the layout with the spades 4-4, I can actually just set up a heart trick because they haven't got enough cashes, and I don't need to even try cashing the king of clubs. I can just play our heart now. But sadly didn't read the position. So this is the way I played, and then unfortunately West had started with the 9 of spades, and they were able to cash a club and then a diamond before giving me the last trick. So this hand has a bit of an interesting defensive thought process. I open the bidding with my 13-point hand. I open a club. There's a spade, pass, 2 clubs, which is a cubid, plus 2 no trumps, 3 spades. So it looks like they might be slightly too high, or maybe they've forgotten to bid a game. Something good might have happened. They play a club, and at this point I see this dummy, and I think, okay, so Clara obviously doesn't have 4 hearts because they didn't bid 2 hearts over 2 clubs. So I know that my partner has at least 4 hearts, but couldn't make a negative double, so I know partner is basically broke. And that's kind of confirmed. I know that West has 12 to 14 points. I know that I have 13, and I can see 8 in the dummy. Sorry, 10 in the dummy. So I'm really not expecting much from partner. The king of diamonds is going to be a useless card. I'm really going to hope that partner's got the king of spades. That's the only way we're going to even hold it to 9 tricks. Unfortunately, as you can see, it was the king of diamonds today, and it was no use at all. But at this point, even before playing this trick, which I can't stop at the beginning of, I decided that after partner wins the hopeful 8 king of spades, when they play another club to my hand, since they've got no club rough coming, I should definitely just cash my hearts, because otherwise we're in danger of not getting our 4 tricks before the diamonds run. So just another example of how counting the points can lead you to really being sensible in the defense. This time it leads you to more of an active role, because you decide, we're not taking this contract down, so we need to make sure it only makes 9 tricks. But unfortunately, partner had the king of diamonds instead, so Clara could just draw trumps and play all their diamonds, and we never got the heart tricks. Okay, this time we got to declare. My partner bid Stayman, I bid spades, and partner didn't have support. And now this hand had a slightly interesting decision on how to make the 10th trick if you take a reasonably routine line. So I win the club lead. I decided to win high to keep it a little bit unclear about exactly which clubs I had. If you win the jack, then it's kind of clear that you've got a really good club holding and they shouldn't be playing the suit. If you win the ace, then they would wonder why you didn't try the queen, so they would be suspicious. But if you win the king, it might just be that you have just the king. So I thought I would try to be a bit more confusing and make it more difficult to know how good my clubs are so that they would potentially continue playing clubs. I chose to take a heart finesse now. I played the 9 because I didn't really want them to cover if they had the queen. Both the ace and the queen are offside today, so it doesn't matter what you do. So they did indeed fall for my trick and they played another club, which gave me time to play another heart. Now I have the 2 tricks I've already taken. I have 2 heart tricks for 4, a spade is 5, a club is 6, and 3 diamonds is 9. So I'm really trying to make this 10th trick. I know that everybody's going to be in this contract. And they play a club back, of course. So because of my trickery earlier, I've now ended up in a hand that I didn't want to be in. If I were in my hand, I could just safely play a spade towards the queen. It looks much more likely that the king of spades is going to be on my left here. But unfortunately, because of my deceptive play earlier, I've kind of forced myself into a box with being in the dummy. So I've got a bit of a decision. I can cross to my hand with the king of diamonds and then try to play a spade. But then if I'm wrong about where the king of spades is and it turns out the diamonds are 3-3, I'm really going to have scuppered things. So I decided to cash the ace of diamonds first to try to get a feel for what the count of the suit is. And I did see a very definitive low card on my left. I cashed a heart through a spade, which I would always have to do. Cashed another heart through another spade, as I had a suspicion that the diamonds were probably 3-3 now. And then I decided to play the diamonds the normal way. Sure enough, they were 3-3, so I had my 10th trick without having to take a risk. This hand is really, really annoying for theorists, but still ends up being very interesting. So you open a club. You can open a diamond if you like, depends on your style. They overcall a spade on your left, and partner bids 3 no trumps. Oh, sorry, north and south have switched. Don't worry, I'll do that again later. So south is at the top, so you definitely open a club no matter what, and then west, who's now on the right, bids 1 spade, and then it goes 3 no trumps, plus, plus, plus. And their partner leads their 3rd highest spade, so you know for sure that the spades are 5-3. Now, you have to be a little bit careful here. It might be tempting to duck the spade, but you really, really, really don't want the opponents to open up hearts because you haven't even begun to set up your long suit yet. So it's actually better to win the spade on trick 1. And then going with the odds, because there are 5 spades on your right and 3 on your left, it's much more likely that West has shorter clubs than East. So the plan is always to, first of all, you can start by playing a club to the north hand, and then you ideally want to be taking a finesse of the jack through your left hand opponent, if you're allowed to hold the trick, or when you get back on lead. So I played a club to the queen and that won, so now it looked like the clubs were 2-2, with probably Jack Doubleton on the left and Ace Doubleton on the right. But unfortunately, it was bad news today, and actually it was the one with longer spades who had all the clubs. So if you are using vacant spaces, you are supposed to get the clubs wrong, but it's still very annoying when it happens. So now you have to try to minimize the damage. You have a bit more time now because you don't have any tricks anyway. So it's going to be really important to isolate the safe hand away from the danger hand so that the opponents can't communicate. So this time you do have to duck the spade. And then you win the third round. You can throw a useless club winner. And now you have to decide what to do with the diamonds. Obviously, you know it's much more likely that the queen of diamonds is on your left now, because there were 8 black suit cards on your right and only 4 on your left. But you also know that that's not even going to help because you'll just block the suit and lose to the queen later. The other thing is you don't want to accidentally lose to the danger hand and have the spades cashed against you. So what I did is I just simply played a low diamond to the ace and a diamond back. And if the queen popped up Doubleton, then I'd be very, very happy. But of course it didn't. I took a finesse that I knew was destined to lose. And now something really interesting happened. On the diamonds, West comes under quite a lot of pressure because you can see they've got 2 spade winners, they've got a club winner, and they have a heart stop. And if they throw away a heart on the next trick, their king will be singleton and you'll be able to play ace of hearts and a heart towards the jack. And now East will be forced to give you your jack of hearts later. So they can't do that and they don't want to throw away a winner. So play that diamond, put them under pressure. They throw away a winner to keep their heart stop. But now, because they don't have as many winners to cash, you can establish a club trick for yourself with your 8-7. So you can just push out the ace. And now you get 2 more tricks and you only go 1 down. So this is quite neat. It's a bit of a strip squeeze on West. So you see it play out. Okay, they play 1 winner, but because they don't have the second winner, they can't take you 2 down, so your hand is high now. Okay, on this one, the bidding was easy. At least I hope so. If you attempted to bid 2 spades, like Arjun apparently was, then please don't. It's not a good idea. You're vulnerable, your spades are bad, you're balanced, all the points are on your left. There's just nothing good about it, and I don't recommend it at all. So if Arjun was also telling you to bid 2 spades, ignore it. It's not a good idea at all. Not a good bid. You might just be taking 1 no trump down, and you know when the opponents are vulnerable as well, you want to be collecting those hundreds. So partner led the 10 of hearts because the jack's in the dummy. You naturally play low and allow declarer to win the ace. Now they take a spade finesse. What you can do in some of these situations is you can sneakily play the king. They might try to play another spade so that they can take another finesse because they think that the finesse is working if you haven't played the queen. You never know. and then they would get a very nasty surprise. Um, so I won the king of spades, and I had to decide what to do. Remember that the jack of hearts is in the dummy. It's got at least one entry, so cashing two hearts is not a good idea, because you're just giving declarer a trick. Then you may as well hold on to those. They're not going anywhere. And you want to try to set up um, whatever diamond trick you have. When playing a diamond, traditionally you would play the queen as top of doubleton, but when you're not expecting that many points from your partner anymore, because you can see how that the dummy had its maximum, probably better to play low, so that partner doesn't think you have queen from queen jack and try to play a low diamond back, and they just play a safe heart instead. So I played the 8 of diamonds. Partner won the 9, which was nice. And now they safely played a heart back indeed. So it's a little bit of psychology on your partner. You don't really want them to play a diamond back. You want to be the one playing diamonds. So once again, played another diamond. And because the 7 of diamonds and the 2 of diamonds were this way around, partner couldn't afford to play another one, sadly. But it would have been brilliant if partner had had the 7. So the opponents make the contract, not much you can do. Deal 8, I referenced earlier. I said that I had a bit of an accident where I misremembered the hands rotated after the bidding. So the play is pretty much nonsense. I can tell you what you should do instead. So East, the bid for East is on the right hand side, 2 hearts, and that managed to fox me later, but actually East is the one on the left. So I ended up in this 2 no trump contract that the way they played, that I could have made, but I misjudged who had what. So when they led the heart, I played low instead of putting up the jack, which is the natural thing to do when you think left-hand opponent has the king queen. And that would have given me time to set up my club tricks, set up my spade trick. You can do some sneaky things. So let me show you the kinds of sneaky things you can do. So you play the jack. And now you have to decide how to play the spades, assuming that one player has the ace and the other one has the king. You know that East can't have both because they started with the king, queen of hearts. So you want to try to make sure that East is the one who wins their spade first, because if West wins it, they can play another heart because they still have one. And then you're vulnerable and you don't have enough time to set up the rest of your tricks. You can't play another spade, for example, because East still has that entry. So I decided that the way that was most likely to make, West duck if they had the ace, was if I played a low spade from the dummy, making it look like I'm playing low to the king, because then they don't want to put the ace up because it establishes 3 spade tricks for me. So this is what I would have done in a free world, and now West has actually let the contract through. So I play the 10. Now West wins the king. For some reason they don't play another heart. That's a bit odd. So you play a spade. Even if they play another heart, you still have time to play another spade yourself. Now West plays their last heart. You have to win. And now you have to decide a little bit what to do. You'll guess about the shape. What's it going to be? It looks like East is very likely to have 2 spades and 2 clubs the way things are going, which might give them 3 diamonds. But only way to know for sure is actually to play another spade. And the good thing is you know that you can always take um, the club finesse through West. You know that they have to have the king of clubs because you've already seen the king of spades and the king queen of hearts on your left, so you know they don't have more points. They have a third spade, so now you know that the diamonds are quite unlikely to be breaking, but you also don't really want to take a finesse into the danger hand. So the safest thing to do is still to play a club. West might choose to duck, but they don't because that's the right thing to do. And now when you see the 7, you don't know whether it's from 7-6 or whether it's a singleton 7. But you can still do a bit of investigating with the diamonds. That 8 is definitely high, so we know that the diamonds are not breaking. So what I would do is I would just make sure to establish the club trick. Play club through West. They hop up with the jack of clubs. And now they can't do anything. They can cash a spade if they like, but you've got a diamond and a club and you make your contract. So this is what I would have done if I'd realised who was who. But, everyone's done it. Okay. This one, East bids spade and then 2 clubs. And then West gives preference to spades. Some people might have been tempted to balance here, but remember, you're vulnerable, the opponents are vulnerable, so you don't mind trying to defend and take them down. You've got a bit of defense going on in your hand. You know, you've got lots of trumps. They might not be in fit, often they won't. And you have good diamonds. Depending on how many of them stand up, you might have a nice heart position against left-hand opponent who is marked with probably quite a reasonable amount of hearts because they just gave a preference for spades over clubs. So their suit's either going to be diamonds or hearts, and just statistically it's more likely to be hearts when your suits look like this. So I would of course lead a top diamond. Which one you lead kind of depends on you. My partner showed me an odd number because I think our agreement is that when I lead the king I want to know how many. So I could decide to try to set up a heart trick here, or I could play more diamonds and try to cash 3 rounds. I decided to play another diamond, just in case. And now East started to lose trump control. And they played a heart and dummy. And another spade. Another spade. And now they're in a bit of a tricky position where they still have to lose the ace of clubs. So I think at this stage, when they play the club, it's going to be really helpful if partner just plays a diamond. So they do. And they let me win the trick. And I really advise that you play another diamond now and just force East to trump at some point, and that gives you your remaining trump as a winner. But for whatever reason, I think I was playing too quickly. I played a heart. So yeah, don't play a heart. The king is still out. Play a trump and try to force them to ruff, and that will promote your 9. This hand was really frustrating because we were on track for a brilliant result, but my partner didn't defend the hand very well. So yeah, this one was half down to our agreements not being very solid here. I'm not sure whether my partner and I are playing support redoubles. So after the double over at the heart, I wasn't sure whether my partner could still have 3 hearts. So I decided to double the 2 diamonds to give us more options. And I mean, partner's clubs are pretty rubbish. They probably should just be clubs, but I can see the temptation to pass. And then I lit a club, seemed normal. Went round to the ace, not good news. And then I really don't understand why partner didn't win their big trump here. They really want their heart ruff, so that's kind of urgent. And then they don't want to get themselves end played, which is exactly what happened later. So you can imagine if they won the trick now and they play a heart and I win and I give them a ruff, now they can always exit their hand with a trump later. But here they ducked and then they won their trumps and then cashed their other trump and then played their heart. So yes, they got their ruff, but now they had nothing safe they could play back. When they played a spade, they opened up the suit for declarer so they could just establish a trick by force. And obviously they can't play a club because that gives an extra discard. So yes, this is really disappointing. 1-off would have been a brilliant result, and I think partner just lost his head a little bit here. It doesn't seem to be loading, but we can't see the final results anyway because nobody's played it yet. So I'm excited to see how my results came out. It's quite a mixed bag. I think most of them were pretty good, but of course there were a couple that are definitely bad. So hopefully you found this video really helpful and you managed to pick up a few tips about things you should be thinking about on these sorts of hands. They were quite interesting hands in this tournament, so lots of meat to think about. Thank you very much for watching, and yeah, hope you did well in the tournament. Take care, everyone. Bye.